I had imagined her wedding day 1,000 times. My daughter, Amara, walking down the aisle, radiant in white, her hand clutching mine in gratitude before I give her away. I had imagined smiles, maybe even a few tears of joy. But nothing prepared me for the message I received just 2 days before the ceremony. Mum, please don't come to the wedding. It's better this way. This is not just the story of a wedding, it's the story of betrayal, sacrifice, hidden truths, and a mother's unraveling heart. What follows is not fiction for me. It is memory soaked in salt and silence. Before we dive into this gripping story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. And if you love stories packed with mystery and drama, don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. There's so much more coming your way. The day Amara was born, the sky was soaked in thunder. Lagos had never known a storm like that in years. The nurses said the thunder was a blessing. I believed them. I had no husband beside me, only my trembling hands cradling this fragile new life. I named her Amara, meaning grace. We lived in a tiny room in Ajigunal. One bulb hung from a fraying wire. The window looked out at a broken wall, yet to me, it was a palace. I held her tight every night and whispered promises, that she would never lack, that I would become both mother and father. Amara's father, Daniel, was a ghost who lived in the past. He disappeared when I told him I was pregnant. I searched for him, not to beg, but to give him a chance. He never answered. Years later, when Amara asked where her father was, I smiled and said, "He's a traveler." But I knew, deep down, that one day she would want to find him. I sold fish and bread every morning by the roadside. The smoke burned my eyes, the sun cracked my skin. Yet I did it with pride. I used to tie Amara to my back while flipping bread with one hand and turning fish with the other. One customer, a kind teacher, once told me, "You're raising a queen." I smiled. Little did I know queens sometimes forget their crowns were forged in fire. Her first day in school, she wore oversized black shoes. I had borrowed money from Mama and Ngozi to buy them. Amara didn't care about the size. She was too excited to notice. She kissed me before walking into the gates. That kiss stayed with me through years of hunger and hard work. There were days we drank only Gary and slept early. On one particularly hard day, Amara found a coin under the couch. She wanted to buy sweets, but she looked at me and said, "Mummy, let's buy soup." I cried that night. Not because we had no food, but because I had a daughter with a heart of gold. Amara was brilliant. She won a scholarship to one of the best schools in Suralere. I washed clothes for neighbors at night just to buy her uniforms and books. She started speaking differently, like she belonged to a different world. I didn't mind. It was the world I was building for her. Every Sunday, we sat on the third bench of the Pentecostal Church of Zion. She would sing louder than the choir, clapping with joy. She always asked to pray for her future husband. It became a family joke. I would say, "Let me see you graduate first." We laughed then. Oh, how we laughed. She got admission into the University of Ibadan. I took a loan I couldn't repay. I packed her clothes, prayed over them, and kissed her forehead. She didn't cry when I left. She had grown. I cried the whole bus ride home. There were things I didn't tell her. How her father had once tried to come back. How I refused. How my body ached at night. How I feared losing her to a world I didn't understand. I swallowed all my aches because her success was my medicine. She called one day with excitement. "Mom, I've met someone." His name was Kelvin. He was everything she wanted. I listened to her gush about his suit, his voice, his car. I smiled, but something inside me twisted. I had learned not to trust easy charm. She brought him home during her NYSC. He wore perfume that filled the entire room. He bowed respectfully, but his eyes, they scanned the house like a stranger in a museum. I made jollof rice. He said it was interesting. Amar noticed. I pretended I didn't. After they left, I found her old diary under her bed. It spoke of loneliness, pressure, desire to escape poverty forever. There was an entry, "Sometimes I wish I wasn't born in this struggle." I sat there reading, heart sinking, wondering if my daughter resented me. 2 days before the wedding, the message came. It was a short WhatsApp text. "Mom, please don't come to the wedding. It's better this way." I called. She didn't answer. I sent a voice note. No reply. I stood in the kitchen, phone in hand, shaking. My fingers couldn't type. My lips couldn't pray. But I went. I took the first bus to Abuja, even without an invitation. I needed to see her, to look into her eyes and understand why. I sat beside a woman who sold onions. She gave me groundnut. I couldn't eat. My heart was chewing itself. I arrived at the venue the day before. It was grand, an event center with marbled floors and chandeliers. I stood outside like a ghost, watching rehearsal. Amara looked like an angel in her gown. Then she saw me and froze. Her lips trembled. Kelvin held her hand tighter. Amara pulled me aside, into a small hall behind the venue. Her eyes darted like a trapped bird. "Mom, what are you doing here?" she whispered. I took a deep breath. "I came because I love you. Because I need to know why." She hesitated, then said, "It's Kelvin's family. They think you're not the image they want. He begged me to ask you not to come. They say you'll ruin their elite presentation." I staggered back. My heart cracked like porcelain. I turned and walked out. Not a word. Not a cry. I sat on a bench outside the event center, watching guests laugh. I was not on the list. A bouncer had asked me to leave earlier. I showed him Amara's childhood photo and begged for 5 minutes. "You look too ordinary for this party, Ma," he had said. Ordinary. An older woman approached me. She wore a green gelly and gold lace. She asked, "Are you okay?" I told her the truth. Her eyes softened. She turned out to be Kelvin's aunt, from the village. She said, "Come with me." Inside, the wedding was in full swing. Amara looked distant as vows were exchanged. When it was time for the toast, Kelvin's aunt stood. She told the crowd, "Behind every successful woman is a mother who bled unseen." Then she pointed to me. "That woman raised your bride with sweat and prayers. She deserves a seat, not silence." Guess. Whispers. Kelvin's mother stood. "This is highly inappropriate." But then Amara rose. Tears streamed down her face. "I am sorry, Mum. I should have fought harder. I let them shame you for loving me too much." I didn't cry. I simply walked toward her. And we embraced. That night, in the hotel room Amara booked for me, she came knocking. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. I found out Kelvin lied. About his business, his background, even his last engagement. "Mum, he was engaged before. And it ended in scandal." My mouth went dry. I had always felt it. That unsettling presence about him. It wasn't pride, it was protection. A mother's instinct. I told her, "You still have a choice. It's not too late." She wept. "But people, the shame." I held her hands. Shame fades. Regret lingers. On the morning of the wedding, the ring went missing. Chaos erupted. Kelvin shouted at the event planner. Amara stood still, too still. Then she whispered to me, "I hid it." I stared. "Why?" She whispered, "Because I don't want to marry him anymore." Minutes before the final ceremony, Amara walked out of the hall. Alone. No announcement. No drama. Just silence. People were confused. Kelvin's family went into meltdown. I stood at the back, unmoving. For the first time in years, I didn't feel shame. I felt strength. We rode in silence. Amara kept staring out the window, her makeup smudged, her dress heavy with disappointment. She said, "I don't know who I am anymore." I touched her hand. "You're my daughter. That's enough to begin again." We checked into a modest motel far from the lights and whispers of the city center. The receptionist gave us a curious look, Amara in her wedding dress, me in my dusty travel wrapper. The door clicked shut behind us, and silence settled like mist. Amara peeled off the gown slowly, carefully, as if shedding someone else's skin. She stood in front of the mirror, staring at herself. I feel naked, not just without the dress, but without the life I thought I wanted. The room had one dim bulb and the air smelled faintly of mildew, but to us it was sanctuary. I pulled her close and said, There's still time to choose the life that chooses you back. The next morning, the internet exploded. Photos of the half-finished wedding. Headlines like, "Bride vanishes at altar," and "Elite family humiliated." But what hurt more were the comments. "Ungrateful girl. Her mother's sweat for nothing. Maybe the mum is the problem. Classless." Amara sobbed into her pillow. I turned off her phone. They don't know your story. But one day they will. 2 days later, I found Amara on the balcony scribbling in a notebook. She handed me a letter. "It's for you. For every time I failed to say thank you." I opened it and read, "Mum, you gave me your youth, your food, your comfort, so I could chase dreams. I tried to fit into a world that wanted me to forget you. But I remember now. And I'll never forget again." We held each other until dawn, the city asleep beneath us. We returned to Lagos with no fanfare, no explanations. Just the two of us. The same room in Ajigunle. The same cracked walls. Amara took a job writing freelance articles. She told her story anonymously, about a girl who almost lost herself to love that looked like gold but was painted plastic. People shared it widely. Some called her brave. Some called her foolish. But many called her real. A year later, Amara organized a community event in Ajigunle. She called it the Grace Foundation, named after herself but inspired by me. She took the microphone and told our story to a crowded church hall. She ended with, "This is my mother. She didn't just raise me, she saved me." I wept, not from pain, but healing. Afterward, a little girl approached me. She held my hand and whispered, "I want to be like you." And in that moment, I knew I hadn't lost a daughter. I had raised a legacy. Thanks for watching. If you're hooked on gripping stories like this, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Your support means the world to us. With love and gratitude, I invite you to join our community for more captivating content. Subscribe now for more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Thank you.